preserve the ballpark nicely, except the ballpark isn't going to sustain the parking garage like that. I don't think it
And
can-
certainly the arena isn't.
No, not regularly. All right. It is 7 p.m. Let me call to order the meeting of the Merrimack Planning Board for Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. Let me appoint Nelson into a voting position in for the vacant planning board position that Mike formerly held. By way of announcement, I'm sorry, everybody who will address the board, please sign in on the clipboard and make sure your microphone's turned on and you speak clearly into it so the folks at home can hear. By way of announcement, our next planning board meeting is currently scheduled for June 4th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in this room, Matthew Thornton room. That completes the call to order. The next item is a planning and zoning administrator's report. Robert, do you have any report for us tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Any questions by members of the board for the staff? Seeing none, we'll read into the record. Item 3 on the agenda is Merrimack Parcel A LLC as the applicant and owner. Continued review of an amendment to the previously approved mixed-use site plan for Phase 1 of the Merrimack Park Place project, proposing an additional 32 multifamily residential units and a modification of 17,000 square feet of specialty retail and restaurant space into a subsequent phase. The parcel is located at 10 Premium Outlets Boulevard in the I-2 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. Tax map 3C, lot 192-2, case Planning Board 2019-6. It's continued from our February, March, and April meetings, and the item has been withdrawn by the applicant who intends to reconfigure their proposal before returning at a later time. And with that, being that it's withdrawn, it requires no action by the board.
Mm-hmm.
Item 4 on their agenda is the John Flatley Company as the applicant and Gilbert Crossing LLC as the owner. Continued review for acceptance and consideration of an amendment to a previously approved site plan to include security gates and cameras at the entrances to the Gilbert Crossing multifamily development. The parcel is located at 3 Gilbert Drive in the I-1 Industrial, Aquifer Conservation, and Wellhead Protection Districts. Tax map 6E, lot 3-7, it's case Planning Board 2019-13, and the item is continued from our May 7th, 2019 meeting. Robert, is there anything that we need to know before we hear from the applicant?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, well, with that, as has been my usual case, I will recuse myself from consideration of this item and hand the gavel to our fine deputy chair, vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, it's nice to see you. Will you give us a brief introduction on what and why you're trying to do this?
Sure. This is at the...
Could you just, don't forget your name for the record.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Kevin Walker from the John Flatley Company. This application was made to put in front of the board security gates at the entrance road for the apartments. I do have a copy of the gate specs if anybody wants one. No? Anybody? No? Okay. Basically, the gate coming into the site is going to be probably, I think I have about 5 car lengths in my letter. I think it's probably going to be closer to 4 lengths, a little over 4 car lengths. And coming out, there'll be room for at least 2 cars in front of the gate. Now, these gates are going to be open from at least 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., constantly up. That's while the clubhouse will be occupied by personnel from our company. That's where our leasing office is, in the clubhouse. So the leasing office will have somebody in it, maybe even 9 o'clock, but figure 10 to 7. And then it'll be down. There's going to be cameras taking pictures of license plates once the gates are down, so we can keep track of anything if there happen to be any incidents overnight. The other thing with this system is that if a car is on the trigger, which is within the pavement, and a car is behind it, that gate will stay up. It's not like you're in a parking garage where the gate comes down and then you gotta wait and it goes up. If there's a continuous line of cars there, it'll stay up if people are taken off. Now, we have the same type of system at departments that we did in Quincy, Mass. It's worked great. There we've got 492 units. I think there's about 350 occupied right now, which is more than what this entire site's going to have. And there've been no issues. That's not on a main road like this is, but that's, again, why we wanted to make sure that that gate will stay open if there are multiple cars going in, which is probably pretty unlikely. I did speak with the fire department on this, that they're okay with everything. I spoke with Captain Manueli. I know he had some correspondence with, I believe, the planning department. And I spoke to him this week, and he has no issues with it either. So it's a pretty straightforward operation. It's safety boost to the residents if need be, and that's really it. And
if I could go first, Kevin, and
Sure.
I understand why you've got the cameras. I agree that gives security, but I don't really see what a gate that automatically lets everybody in, whoever they are, is a security boost.
Well, so during the day, there's going to be people in the clubhouse, which is the first building that you come in.
Yes, I understand.
So the people in the leasing office are gonna, as people move in, you know who they are, you know what they're driving, that type of thing. And they'll be able to see, what's going on. Off hours, the cameras will be working. They may be working on hours also. That decision hasn't been made yet, but
So the cameras are on all the time, or only at night when the gate's working?
they're definitely going to be on at night, and we're tossing around the daytime.
But what is the gate doing? I mean, if somebody wants to come in, sure, I like the idea of the camera, but I don't see what the gate does. How does it, I mean, you're saying, guaranteeing that the gates are either open or they will open. I mean, it's not like you're trying to create a gated community. I'm mystified, that's all I can say.
Well,
I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Well, at nighttime, especially at night, let me use nighttime as the example. At nighttime, cars have to stop at that gate, and you will absolutely get a clear shot of the license plate. So if something were to happen when we have somebody not in the leasing office, off hours, overnight while people are sleeping, we'll have a record of all the vehicles coming in and out and what time those vehicles are coming in and out. Now, we did run into something at our site in Quincy, and the camera was actually quite a benefit to have it in that particular case.
Anybody
turn.
else have any
My turn.
thoughts?
My turn. I'm not sure you answered his question, Kevin, to be frank. They take pictures of cars' license plates going 75 miles an hour up in Hooksett. I don't know why you need to stop the cars to do it. Okay, so it just didn't hang together there. The other thing that concerns me more is the idea of making this into a gated community, or apparently gated, when it's supposed to be, this whole thing was approved as part of a CUP, which meant, which was designed to create an integrated community of business, industry if necessary, and residential. And this seems to be cutting the residential out of the picture. People aren't going to be going to any businesses through this entrance.
So from day one, the intent of this plan, and this was made crystal clear way at the beginning, is to get into the business portion of the site. Was never meant to have people come through the residential area. That's why we have additional entrances. We have an entrance 400 or 500 feet down to get into what's going to be a retail area. We've got another entrance in front of the Webster condominiums. That's also for another portion of the site. And we've also have the entrance that is the entrance to the St. Cobain site. So there are going to be multiple entrances for people to get into retail or industrial or whatever else is built out there without the need to cut through the residential area. The residential area from day one was always meant to basically sit on its own. Now, the connection from the residential area in the future, which is going to be further north, further east, I should say, there'll be a road that connects the residential area with the rest of the park, which will allow the people from the residences to not have to go out onto DW, but to be able to just stay on site and access future retail or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It was never, ever meant for people to come in off of DW, cut through the entire, because the connection for this apartment area to the rest of the site is 4 or 5 buildings. It's got to be 1,500 feet or close to it. It's a hike. No one would ever, no one in their right mind would cut through the apartments to go to one of the retail spots. It would be a lot quicker to just stay on DW and take another entrance into a retail spot.
Well, maybe. I'm not not 100% sure of that. But again, I don't see the connection between the need for the gate and the camera, and as Alistair pointed out.
Well, again, the camera, we know, takes a good focused picture when a car is stopped. So when a car hits the trigger for the gate, when the gate is down, the trigger also sets the camera off. If cars are just going through that area with the gate up, the picture is not as clear. When it's stopped, this isn't a highway camera. This is a typical security gate camera. So it's an added measure of security for the apartments, and especially where we're going to have a lot of retail and a lot of industrial on the rest of the site. It's just another added measure of safety. And there maybe in the future there may be one up further north at some point. We're not sure yet.
One what further north?
Gate.
A gate, I should say east.
East, thank
East,
you,
Sorry about that.
sorry. Yeah,
North, yeah, we don't want to
I was
block
gonna
everybody from
gate off
getting
for
in.
retail, that didn't.
Yeah,
make sense.
all of the other entrances off of DW are going to be wide open as they typically would be. It's just a residential that we're trying to put some sense of security in there.
So in that case, all the other entrances being open, if somebody is coming in for nefarious reasons, they will come in one of the open entrances and come down to the homes that way. I'm just,
Well, unless they gate that. I mean,
Well, that is something that we're discussing in the office, is gating the second access into the apartment.
now you see, you're revealing things that we don't know about.
Well, we haven't made a decision on it. And we don't know we don't necessarily know if it's going to be 100% necessary. We know that we have a system now where we have 300 plus units, and it works great. The residents are very happy with it. Emergency personnel have no issues with it. I know, like I said, Captain Manueli has no issue with it here in Merrimack.
Can I ask, is this unit in Quincy, is it a mixed CUP or is it just a sole residential unit?
So this is a 492 unit apartment site within a big office park. So there's millions of square feet of office in there. There's a hotel, a big Marriott.
And the people going to the hotel or the office park, they have to go through the same gates? No, that you've got one set of gates or two sets of gates or what?
Just the apartments. To get into the apartments, they have to go through the gate.
But if they want to go to the office, there's another entrance which doesn't require a gate.
Multiple entrances to different buildings in the office park, yeah. It's quite a, the one we're talking about is quite a large roadway system. It's probably over 1.5 miles of roadway in the park.
Well, I don't really like it, but I suppose I can understand it providing security. But I mean, if the gates are open, and you're saying the cameras won't take pictures of good enough pictures of cars coming through the gates when the gates are open during the day. So how are you?
That's when we have that's when when we have personnel on site.
Yeah, but if somebody comes in the entrance at 30 mile an hour and goes straight through because the gates are open, how the hell are the people in your office going to know who it is or what it is? I'm just mystified. I have to admit.
Well, I mean, over the course of, again, I'll bring up the one that I've got some history with, is the people in our leasing office end up basically knowing these people, knowing their vehicles, knowing, you know, if I had a nickel every time I went to that office, they're like, oh, Joe, whoever is here, and
So how many people will be in this office?
4.
And they're going to spend their days sitting with binoculars taking pictures of cars coming in.
No, I mean,
Kevin,
there's not that many, you know, the stream of cars isn't that often, I guess is the word I'm looking for. You're not
Well-
gonna have a line of cars coming in, a line of cars, you know, from every direction heading into the site.
Well, I don't know what
I'll
to
take
say.
it a little bit different direction.
We could
Go on, Dan,
we
please.
could leave the gates operational 24 hours. We could do it
In
that way
which
too.
case, why put them in?
No, operational, he said. So
Oh,
you-
operational.
Yeah.
Dan, you were going to say something, please.
Just I'll make one point and then one question. If you guys add a gate in this community, I'm pretty positive it'd be the only gate community in our town.
You're right.
So I don't know how I feel about that. No, not about traffic. I just feel like it doesn't match what we're doing here.
Well, it adds value. It adds value to the property.
Okay. I mean, maybe you get a couple extra people wanting to rent your place because they have a gated community, but I don't know. I don't really feel it. But it's more. I guess my question is more to the security cameras. What are your plans on keeping those images and privacy and things like that? How do you plan on doing that? And in Quincy, what do you guys do? Like, do you keep the images for 24 hours? Do you keep them for 30 days?
I think I don't hold me to this, but I think they're kept for at least a week.
All right, now
And if nothing-
is that going to be part of the rental agreement? Are they made aware that
They're
they're
made.
being?
Oh yeah, they will know that there are pictures being taken, a license plate coming and going.
And these cameras point down, like we don't have to worry about the neighbors getting any
No,
kind of
directly,
security?
they're gonna be pointed, so if this is the island and this is the out and this is the in, you know, if you're looking out, it's gonna be pointed kind of this direction.
Okay.
So when the car hits the trigger up here, it'll take the picture. It's just one picture. It's not gonna keep
Okay.
shooting pictures.
No, I was just curious. I mean, in today's world with privacy, just wanted to think about it.
If it didn't work so well where we have it now, you know, we may not have even have thought of it, but
All right.
it's been it's put a lot of people at rest, and people are happy to know that, you know, they can have some sort of backup if something were happening during the night. Now, if something happens somewhere on the site, do we know exactly where and when that happened? No, because we don't have the whole site cambered. But we can tell you at 3:25 a.m. this random car decided to take off. It's not a resident.
Okay.
Why were they there? Why did they leave when they did?
So the cameras are only taking pictures when the gates are down. So in other words, what's
maybe,
the,
maybe not.
or are they going to take pictures for every single vehicle?
They will take a picture every time a car hits the sensor under the pavement. So it will take pictures when the gates are up. It's just the quality of the picture is better when they have a picture of a stopped
car.
vehicle. Just like a regular camera, you got somebody moving around.
So these are just in-ground sensors. They're not. There's no moving part.
You're not going to see it. It's going to be under the pavement. You won't know it's there.
Well,
What kind of,
I'm waiting to hear what anybody
what kind of
else.
signage do you plan to have on these gates? Anything to,
No signage.
or just just stripes or something to make them
Yeah,
obvious?
yeah,
or-
they're either gonna be a red or possibly a green. We're not sure which one. It could be either one. They have, so it's gonna be a white gate. And it's gonna have red little nicks on them or green.
Or something to make them obvious, so that people don't
Yeah,
just
people will be able to
accidentally
see them
run
at night. They're gonna be, yeah.
Is the whole area gonna be lit?
Just with the,
So that the cameras will work,
just
or-
with the street lanterns.
Along that
Yeah,
entrance drive?
what we have what we have designed now, we don't have any additional lighting, for that area.
Okay, and that's sufficient light for the cameras to operate?
Yep.
Okay. I think, as Nelson was alluding to, it starts to border on the edge of violating, if I may, the CUP concept that we were presenting or we were understanding. You may have believed that from the very get-go that residences were separate, but if, in fact, we thought of the residences separate, we would have asked you to apply for a permit to build residences there instead of the CUP and the mixed-use program. And so I think you're starting to skate pretty close to the edge of what that means, personally. But on the other hand, I understand the desire to give the people some comfort that there's a little bit more security. I think it's good that it doesn't require a pass to get in, that visitors and whatnot can come in without having to be buzzed in or something like
Yeah,
that.
we actually looked at that for Quincy, and it just was gonna be too
Wouldn't
much of a
work well.
pain.
I mean, my son lives in a gated community down in Louisiana, and it's a pain to get to visit him.
Oh, yeah, if he's not home or whatever.
Yeah, well, I
can't
mean, you
reach
get
him?
there, you know he's there, you have to dial a number, and
Yeah,
it rings
yeah,
his phone, and then he's got to buzz you in and stuff. It's
Right.
just, it's a mess. You said there's like 2 stacking cars past the gate on the exit,
Yes.
but you've got 2 lanes, so that's potentially 4 cars could
Yeah,
stack there. Is
potentially
the
it could be
gate-
4 cars, yeah.
Is the gate controlled so that it won't come down on a car or something like
Yes,
that if somebody
if
does
there's
get
a
stuck?
car on that trigger, then it will not go down.
Does the trigger go all the way through the gate area or something, or, I mean, if they're.
So there's
if they're-
one on the outbound side
Yeah,
and one on the inbound side.
well, I understand, but if they're parked underneath the gate or just to where the back end of the
Oh,
car
no,
is still
there's,
underneath the
no,
gate?
there's a sensor. There's a sensor on, I'm not sure if it's on the box or if it's on the gate itself, but it will not come down on top of a car or a person or whatever, bicycle. Whatever
Right.
happens, somebody's driving a bicycle down there or walking, it's not gonna.
And it won't sense bikes or people or anything like that, right? It's
Say
just-
again?
It's not gonna sense a bike or a person, or, I mean, will it sense motorcycles?
It will sense motorcycles. I think the weight limit's like 750 or something like that. It's not a lot of weight. It's more than a car.
Is a motorcycle 750?
Yeah.
A big one. Okay, I guess I'm intrigued by keeping it up during the day. I think that's a good thing. I understand putting it down at night. I probably would have said dusk to dawn or something like that, but if you want to leave it till.
So the hours can be adjusted. It's
Oh, I'm
it's going to be
sure.
on a timer, so we can, if it seems like it's better one way or the other, then
Well, you've got your morning traffic is people going out to work and stuff
Right.
anywhere after 6 until whenever, and buses and all those kinds of things. I don't know if we're gonna have a bus issue here, but there's just concerns of traffic before 10 o'clock
right.
is gonna get delayed or slowed up, or, as you said, multiple cars can go through while it's up. And so the camera's gonna have to be relied upon to catch the car as it hits the trigger when it's the second, third, or fourth one through, right?
Yeah.
How about the situation where a lot of cars are going out in the morning and they find they can't get onto Route 3 because Route 3 gets pretty busy in the morning? And so you basically get a backup here. You've only got room for 2 cars between Route 3 and the gate exiting, right? And they may not get out. What's the workaround for that situation?
So again, if the third car, there's actually enough room that the third car would trigger the gate. It would pull forward 3 feet or whatever until it's behind the second car. And the gate will not come down because it will see that there's a car there.
Yeah.
So it will not come down on top of anything underneath it.
So as long as there's traffic going through there, it'll just stay up.
Yeah, but traffic may be just stopped
Well, it could be
there.
stopped, but like you said, if it's on the trigger or if it senses the car is
Yeah.
there,
It'll stay up,
it
yeah.
would,
Yeah.
It won't come down on top.
it's smart enough not to, and presumably has some kind of pressure trigger that it would retract if it hit something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
You
not,
said
it's
that,
not,
yes, very quickly, but.
well, no, but everything is
Like
built
garage
that way
doors and
now.
whatnot, yeah.
Everything is built that way now, but it shouldn't get to that point.
No, it shouldn't,
It should be,
But
it should be up,
life throws
basically, how it's
curves.
designed,
yeah.
Well, I'm ready to entertain a motion from some. Do we have to, have we got to,
Ask for any.
have we got to decide whether we're going to accept it first?
Oh, we guess.
We haven't actually accepted this.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept this for public
Oh,
discussion.
okay.
Here, yeah.
All right, all in favour of Nelson? Who's going to
You should have a
second
second.
Nelson?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
And there's no public here. Oh, sir, I don't wish to be rude. You are a public. Do you want to make any comments?
Hold on, you gotta finish the motion that you just made.
Oh, we should accept it first. Let's accept it first. The motion then is to accept this for review. All in favour, say
Aye.
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 Opposed.
Okay, so Dan's opposed, the other three, the other four, three of us have said we'll accept it. Okay, I think we've all chewed it around. Shall we throw this open for the public comment, please? Please, sir.
Should I sign in or anything, or just?
Yes,
Yes,
please,
you'll
we'd
need
love
to
you to
sign
sign in. Tell us what you think. You can use the microphone that's there. Can you make certain you've got a little green light?
There we go, green light, I got you. Okay, so Rick,
Your name, sir, first, please.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you've got to say it out
Yeah.
for the record.
Yeah, right, Rick Foot, 129 Indian Rock Road, Merrimack.
Thank you.
My comments are that, as you mentioned, the traffic on Daniel Webster is nice. I don't often have to go that way in the morning, fortunately, as I live only a few miles from where I work, so I frequently just walk where I need to go to most of the time. But the few times when I do have to drive that way in the morning, like this morning I went that way, and the traffic was abysmal. It was, the southbound traffic was backed up for, I don't know how many miles it was backed up. Northbound was kind of just crawling on through. And that Gilbert place isn't even open yet. I mean, I know they're open for leasing and everything. I have no idea if anyone lives there or not. But I can't imagine what that place is going to be like in the morning when, if it actually fills completely up. How many people want to get out at 6 in the morning or something to go to work or wherever they're going in the morning? What that's going to be like trying to go southbound and northbound, because you know people want to go. The little turn lanes they put in there, I suppose those will help somewhat. But with a lot of cars going that way normally, and people trying to now get in and out of that place, it's hard for me to fathom what that's going to be like, and for the poor people that have to actually go that way in the morning. I count myself as lucky is that when I have to go that way on Monday mornings, all I'm doing is turning into the little strip mall across from Homestead there, and have to get out of there, and even that sometimes is tricky. So you feel with super dogs right there. It's amazing how much traffic that adds to it. And I just see with the development going in there, the more things they cram in there, the uglier it's just going to get. And to me, it's amazing that I didn't like the project to start with, but that has nothing to do with anything. It just seems to me that this is going to get uglier and uglier. And at some point, it's going to be like, okay, that's just going to be a traffic jam in the morning. Anyone who has to go that way is going to be, good luck getting there. You have to give yourself an extra hour to get any place trying to get through there. And I just see that people are going to want to turn into there or turn into there from either way. If you're going northbound and you want to turn into there, it won't be a big deal. Going southbound and you want to turn into there, you're going to be back up to the same thing again. The turn lane is big enough for a couple of cars maybe, and then you're stuck with traffic again. And it just seems like, wow, this was not a really well thought out thing for traffic. Great for a developer, but not so great for the people who have to be traveling that way. And I'm thankful I don't have to travel that way. One of the few things I did when I saw development going up, I wandered around that whole place and took pictures of it. So I have something to remember what it used to look like instead of all the wonderful things they built there now for all the housing we desperately need in town. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. But I would point out to you that when this project was first approved, we were presented with a traffic report which appeared to demonstrate that with the modifications to Daniel Webster Highway, et cetera, that it would not seriously affect the traffic, which was already not in a very good state, but it wasn't going to make it that much worse. But who knows? All right. Well, that count on your. Thank you for your comments, and we will close the public hearing. I'm waiting to hear if somebody wants to say make a motion or something.
No, I would just say that I don't see that these gates would contribute any problem to the traffic situation that exists there or will exist there. I just don't think it's quite relevant, that this isn't really going to impact that. So I'm discounting that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would echo that comment, Nelson. Yes, I don't think it'll make it any worse. But I'm looking for what do we want to do with this project?
There are no waivers required.
No, just a straightforward altering the.
Right.
Oh,
So just to help the board out, you guys have three choices that you can take here. You have to, let's read it out here. So the board, you can, if you choose not to agree that the security gates are consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance, the CUP section of the zoning ordinance, or with the previously approved CUP, then you can deny it. The second option would be to find that the gates are consistent with the ordinance, but not with the previously approved CUP, at which point we'd recommend that you table or continue the application so they can amend the CUP first. Or you could find that the gates are consistent with both the ordinance and the CUP and grant approval.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Well, while I think it's somewhat of a stretch as to whether it's I think it probably meets the idea of the CUP sufficiently that I would move that we recommend that we grant a conditional final approval to the application with the following precedent conditions as outlined in the memo from Mr. Price, dated 5/7. Well, dated May 1, the second
May 1.
page is dated 5/7.
Yeah.
And so forth and so on, with all of those conditions outlined.
Do I hear a second for that?
I will second it.
Thank you.
Reluctantly, yeah.
All right, put it,
And
the motion.
So I just want to say that I don't find that it violates the CUP and/or the zoning ordinances as the CUP is written. I think it skates pretty close to the line, but I don't think that that's a reason we can deny it. I think it's not, like Nelson or somebody pointed out, it's not going to harm the traffic on DW because the gates are off of DW and there's enough room for cars to get off the road and enough ability for them to stack up to get on the road without the gates causing trouble for them. So I can't see any viable reason to say they can't do it.
So the motion is to accept this project for final approval. I'm looking to put the motion to the floor.
I'm looking to be sure that we have the conditions as Mr. Walker explained, that the gates will be open during the day and that they will, I've forgotten now, the camera runs all the time and the gates are open during the day and the gates are only closed at night. Was that?
Yeah,
was-
basically, while the leasing office is occupied, which is generally between 9 or 10 in the morning and 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, well, the leasing office is gonna go away, right?
No,
No,
You'll
because
always
they're
have-
going to own the property, so somebody needs to manage
Yeah,
the
that's-
leasing
Yeah,
office.
okay.
that'll
all
be
right,
full-time from basically now
Yeah,
until,
as people come and go and
until
their
forever.
rental agreements expire, other people come in, so they'll have somebody
Yeah.
there on staff.
Yeah,
I'm just,
I guess I would recommend, if I could real quickly, that the hours be more like a dusk to dawn type thing instead of waiting until the leasing office opens, just because then you're not interfering with people trying to get in and out during the early commuting hours.
I'm just got one little query. I'm reading your letter of April 15th. It said the gates are proposed to be and triggered with a weight control pad. The pad will not be visible as it'll be underneath the roadway pavement. So you're saying the whole roadway is going to go down?
No, no.
Just a
No,
pressure
it's,
sensor.
it's a pressure sensitive pad, basically, that's gonna be under the pavement. So the pavement won't trigger it, obviously, but when a car goes over the pavement, the weight of the vehicle's tires will be enough to deflect that pavement a little tiny bit to trigger the pad.
Even in the winter?
Yes.
Okay. That was my technical bit.
Yeah, I want this to be part of the approval here if that's what we're about to do.
But if you read what
Yeah.
you want,
You're talking about the hours of operation, or?
Yeah, the hours,
Are
yeah,
you okay with that? Can we put hours of operation on the
Yeah,
approval?
absolutely, yeah, we can time it however you believe it's suited.
So-
If it ends up being an issue one way or the other, if it's a problem with the town, give us a call. We'll be happy to adjust them. If we're having issues with it, we'll come back in and talk to you. But on the face of it, it sounds fine to me. I don't have any issue with it.
Okay, so,
that is if we did what? What do you have no issue with?
Dusk to dawn.
Oh, dusted on,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Well, that's something we can amend in the approval.
It's part of our.
that's, yeah,
part
I
of-
guess we amend
Go
that.
on, Kevin.
Why don't we put hard times to it? Because dusk and dawn happens at different
They
times.
change
over
all
the
over
year.
the place
Every
around
day
here,
it
which,
I was just thinking about it. I'm like, in the winter,
Every
it's going to
day.
be going down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and want
Yeah,
to say
but-
6 to 6, or 6 to 7, or 7 to 7.
I guess I would have said 7 PM to 6 AM or something like that, just,
Okay, so 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. They would be up.
it would be up.
Okay, yeah. That works for me.
Nelson, as the seconder, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I brought up the subject.
You
so
did.
we'll
I
get-
just want to make sure everybody's
I wanted to
comfortable.
be sure it's clear now
So
to
it's now,
us and.
So
the
do we
gates
need
will be
to-
open between
would you
6 a.m. and 7
delineate that as a-
p.m.
Yeah,
and will
Yeah, I've got it
function
noted in here.
from
Okay.
7 p.m. round to 6 a.m.
yeah.
Okay, I'll call the question. All
Yeah,
in
that's-
favour?
It's covered under number 5.
Okay. Sorry?
Shall address. I'm just explaining that the amendments that you made to the motion are covered under
Oh.
condition number 5, that the applicant shall
The
address.
conditions we make during the public hearing.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I've got that the gates shall remain
Okay.
open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you talked about the camera being operational 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah, the cameras,
And that the camera records have got to be available for at least a week, 7 days.
I guess I'm wondering to myself if there should be some kind of a sign indicating cameras in use to make it legitimate to be taking pictures of people's cars. Do you have any kind of an issue like that, or
I don't know,
in Quincy?
I think
or-
we can look at the legal end of it, and
What-
if it's required that we do that, then we will definitely do that.
What happens at Quincy? Have you got a notice saying you're being photographed?
No, but the cameras are sitting right there.
Yeah, but there's
But either
no,
way,
there's
on
no
the
sign
legal
on
end of
it
it-
saying
No,
this
there's
is
no
a
sign.
camera
There's
or
no
something
sign
like
in Quincy.
On the
That's a
legal
different
end of it-
state, so
Yeah,
I mean,
New
we
Hampshire
could-
might be different than
So,
Massachusetts.
yeah,
in
check,
that
Yeah.
regard.
check the
I will.
legality of
So if, yeah,
taking
if we
pictures
have
without
to
warning.
legally, we will make sure the proper notification is on.
Thank you.
All right, with that, any other ifs and buts, or shall we call the question?
I'm ready for the question.
I call the
Call the
question.
question.
The question is the motion made by Tom here and seconded by Nelson. All in favour, say aye.
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 All in, no, that's aye.
I
Dan,
said aye.
Dan, are you opposed?
were you saying aye, Dan?
No.
Opposed, and I say I'm opposed too. So that's 2-2, and on the basis of that, the motion fails. All right, my only comment, Kevin, is that I think you've got to come up with a proposal that is easier for us to understand, more complete, covers the issues that you've heard tonight. Then you might well find that we could get it through, but on the basis of what we've heard tonight, no.
But that doesn't resolve
But
the
you
issue.
have to resolve the issue. You
Yeah.
have to either
So
table
if-
it or come up with excuses as to why we deny.
Yeah, you could make another motion to deny it, see where that goes. If it ends up being stalemate, continue it to another meeting till you get more members present to make another motion
All
on
right,
this.
make a motion. Dan, you going to make a motion to deny it?
Sure, make a motion to deny the applicant's request for the amendment.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
Well, I suppose I'll have to second it in order to discuss it, right?
That is correct.
So in the interest of
Discussion.
making progress and discussion, I will second his motion.
Okay, all in favor of?
Wait.
All right, go on, sorry.
I don't understand what grounds we're going to deny on, so I need some people to give me some better feeling for what the grounds are for denial.
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't comply with the CUP.
Same. And
How?
to be honest with you, you know, he mentioned, I know he didn't mention it, and, you know, he mentioned in passing that another possible gate might be down in the line. If you do this once, it's definitely that second one's gonna violate the CUP. So I'm not gonna start with this one and then have another one.
Well,
3
so
months
I would
from now.
disagree. I don't believe it violates the CUP. I think it skates kind of close to the concept, but I don't think it does. And so I'm trying to understand what grounds of denial. I mean, just saying it violates it, I think we need to be a little bit more specific in our denial definitions, conditions.
Well, I mean, the idea of the CUP is total connectivity. And given that this is a sort of, the CUP is sort of stalled over a whole load of issues, I don't think we could approve it as it stands. That's my view. And I'd like to see the rest of the CUP. If the CUP had been carried out and we got the big box store that you'll never see and some of the other stuff, I might be prepared. But as it is now, no, I don't see it. I think it is not in keeping with the CUP. That's my personal opinion.
Which is okay, but I have a problem with that because I don't believe this. The CUP allows for interconnectivity. The gates are up during the daylight hours, during most or much of the retail hours of anything, or office hours of any industrial or commercial, and unless it's a 24-hour operation. And so technically, you can connect still through, and anybody in the residences can get over there. If somebody wanted to go through the residences to get there, they could, or if they wanted to come back out through the residences, they certainly can, and nothing is stopping them. It does give us an impression of being a gated community, but it's not. Certainly during daylight hours, when the gates are up all the time, there's no gating of any sort. Potentially, there's a camera taking pictures of license plates, but that happens all over the place, at many intersections and whatnot, all over the country.
But those are government cameras, not private
That
cameras.
doesn't mean that private ones aren't doing it as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
I accept that. All right, call the question on the denial then. I'm all in favour of denying the application. Those against denying the application.
Gates.
So we are stuck.
So then my suggestion would be to make a motion to continue this to another night so you can get more members
I
present to
think
be
that's
able to
that's
act.
the only thing we're left with. Kevin, we must ask you, I think we continue this to another motion, a date. Could we have a motion to that effect?
I wanted to hear what Kevin was going to say in answer to your question.
Well, yes, let Kevin comment.
Well, this will have complete interconnectivity. The only reason for any gate or gates is for extra protection for only the residents. There's nothing stopping anyone from coming through here. There's nothing, not that I think anyone from a retail portion of the site will ever come through here, because it's just so out of the way to do it, but it's an added measure of protection for people's personal belongings. You know, this is where people are gonna be living. They're gonna have their cars, they're going to have their TVs, their stereos, their stuff in their house. You know, stores have all sorts of insurance and so on, and as do businesses. Renters can also have insurance, but we're trying to provide an extra bit of safety and protection to make their life a little easier and a little more, less worrisome.
Well, Kevin, given that we have stalled, I think the best thing to do is to take the advice of our staff. We'd like to continue this to a date certain. I would like to see a more detailed write-up of your presentation. Your write-up of April 15th could be enhanced, so we cover some of the issues we've talked about. And at such a date, we'll try to make certain that other members of the board, so you've got a full board to take a decision. I'm sorry there aren't more people here tonight to hear it. So I would make a suggestion we continue this till,
June 4th, June 18th, either date works.
Kevin, which would suit you best? I know you sort of getting bored with talking to us, but
No, I'm not at all.
4th or 18th?
What day is today?
Today's the 21st.
Today's the 21st.
2 weeks out.
That's 2 weeks out to the 4th and
4
4
weeks.
weeks out to the 18th.
Do you need stuff ahead of time?
We would, but consider this is already continued, we could get it up to, I think, that Wednesday by next week. So you have a few days to.
Wednesday next
Yeah.
week. I had Friday off. I'm actually taking a day off, so that only gives me 3 days. So I'm trying to do math in my head to see what I can get done. Sure, let's go for it.
For the
All right.
If I need
4th?
to-
For the 4th,
Let's try for the 4th.
Okay, we continue.
move to table till the 4th of June.
Seconded by Nelson, all in favour? Aye. It's the first consistent vote. Okay, Kevin, there we are. I'm sorry we haven't got what you wanted, but we haven't closed the door on you.
I appreciate it.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
And I'll welcome the chairman back to the chair.
Thank you.
You really do drop me in the difficult ones, Mr. Chairman.
Didn't mean to. Okay. Item 5 on our agenda is Merrimack Office Properties LLC as the applicant and owner. Review for acceptance and consideration of a waiver of full site plan review to add a 420 square foot building entrance and expanded parking area. Parcels located at 11 Continental Boulevard in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer
don't mind,
Conservation
John.
Districts
There, because then the camera, the people at home can see it.
and Wellhead Protection Area. Tax map 3D, lot 3, case PB 2019-15. Robert, is there anything that we need to know before we hear from the applicant?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. So once you get a chance to settle in, please introduce yourself and tell us what's before us.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Tom Zajac. I'm a civil engineer with Hayner Swanson, 3 Congress Street in Nashua. Here tonight representing Merrimack Office Properties LLC, their property located at 11 Continental Boulevard. I'm here tonight seeking a waiver of full site plan approval for a small building entrance addition and some minor site improvements upon the subject site. I will be very brief in my presentation, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. As I mentioned, the site before you tonight, 11 Continental Boulevard, map 3D, lot 3, a 7.5 acre site, zoned industrial, abutting land uses, industrial uses to the north and west, residential uses to the south, and the Shaw's Shopping Center to the east. Relatively flat topography, so the site is mostly developed as it exists today. It's a remnants of the former Unitrode site. There's an existing 2-story, roughly 71,000 square foot multi-tenant industrial building, along with associated parking spaces. The easterly portion of the site contains a shared access driveway with the shopping center to the east. There's a good buffer along the southern portion of the site to the residences. We've got public sewer, water by MVD, and underground utilities. So we're before you here tonight for a 420 square foot building entrance addition on the northerly side of the existing building. So the purpose of the plan is, long story short, the building has been roughly 85% filled for a number of years. I got some good long-term tenants. There is about 12,000 square feet of vacant office space on the second floor. The space has been vacant for a number of years because it kind of lacks a prominent building entrance, and also there's not really visitor and parking in close proximity to that entrance. So we're doing both those things with this proposed plan. We're adding a small building entrance. There's no increase in use. It's just an entrance to the lower space and then providing access to the second story space. And there's a total of a net gain of 6 parking spaces along that existing access drive. So overall, the project is minor considering the size of the site. We're only disturbing about 2% of the site and adding less than 1/10 of acre of impervious area. The slight increase is measurable but negligible in comparison to the overall site, and it's our opinion that it won't impact the downstream drainage system. We don't have any wetland or wetland buffer impacts to the site, so given those reasons, we are seeking a waiver of full site plan approval tonight.
Thank you, Tom. The first order of business for the planning board to consider is whether the application is complete. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant on that topic?
No lighting changes at all?
No.
Any other questions on the topic of completeness? If not,
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we consider this application is complete and available for us to discuss it.
is there a second for Alistair's motion?
I will second it, but I will ask, does this motion include a waiver of full site plan review?
No,
No, this is
No.
just accepting it as
just
being
accepting
complete.
it for discussion.
Okay, then I'm all set.
Okay. Any other discussion on whether the application's complete? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 500 to determine the application's complete. Any general discussion with the applicant? The applicant has requested a waiver of full site plan review, and if the board is willing to consider such, it should be done with a mind towards one of the statutory bases for a waiver.
Okay, look here.
Discussion of waiver of full site plan review.
Nelson, you've obviously got something to say, I can hear it.
No, I have no problem with waiving full site plan
All right.
review on this site.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, then I make
Yeah.
a motion, we waive a full site, waive the necessity for a full site review on the basis that strict conformity would, specific circumstances relative to the subdivision or indicate the waiver will carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Okay, notwithstanding that statutory regulation in the memo is the incorrect one, it's the subdivision one instead of the site plan one. I
Oh,
get what you
sorry.
mean. No, it's not you, it's the memo itself should have the site plan one, not the subdivision one. Is there
Oh,
a
okay.
second for Alistair's
I
motion?
will second his motion.
Okay. If there's no further discussion on a waiver of full site plan review, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 500 for that. Are there any abutters or interested citizens who wish to weigh in on the proposal? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any substantive discussion with the applicant on what's proposed?
Substantive, whatever you said.
Substantive?
Yeah, I was just curious how this addition, it's a one-floor addition, right? It's just
Technically, yeah, one story.
you're not
but
building a stairwell in this
there-
entryway.
There is a stairwell there, yes,
the-
to access the second floor.
Oh, okay. It doesn't show anything here, so I was curious as to whether that was gonna have a stairwell built into it.
It
or
does,
was
yes.
gonna-
Yep.
It is, okay. So access is both the first and second floor, or is it
Correct,
just
yeah.
the second?
Yes, yeah, there's an existing access there for the first floor, but not the second
Not right
floor.
there, is there?
Yes, there's an existing door in
Is
that
there?
location, yeah.
Okay. I used to work in that building when it was Unitrode, and I don't recall that, but I think they've changed it.
Yeah, there's a sidewalk that leads right there, and there's an access point.
Oh, okay. It was never utilized by employees. Back when? Okay. I don't have any problem with it. Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
There was a question about sidewalk. It mentioned somewhere in the text that sidewalks were being added, but is there already a sidewalk along Continental Boulevard here?
There is, yes.
That's what I
Yep.
gathered from the drawing,
Yeah.
but somewhere or other I got the impression you were adding sidewalks.
We are relocating sidewalk. There's a sidewalk out there now along the driveway, so because of the parking,
Oh, okay. Got, yes, yeah. Okay.
to continue that connectivity out.
Okay.
to
Okay,
Continental,
then there's
yeah.
a detail in there of it, but I thought the one was already existing along.
It is, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We're maintaining that existing connection.
That's good.
So your existing conditions plan doesn't show any sidewalk along the driveway at the moment?
Oh, it does not?
It does
Oh, I
not.
apologize. I misspoke then.
There's sidewalk along on Continental Boulevard, excuse me, but there's not actually turning the corner and coming into the... That's not your existing condition, that's the,
Yeah, but I could see it behind. You are
okay.
right. There is a sidewalk there that comes from the parking spaces, two building entrances, one on the north side and one on the west side. But there isn't a connection right now out to Continental Boulevard, and we are making that small connection there.
right, and
My
and some
apologies.
additional parking in
Correct.
that curve. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for asking the questions to clarify that. Robert?
Before the board takes any action, I just want to point out, typically, staff brings these types of applications, even though as minor as this may be, typically we bring them to the board in cases where there will be a net result of more impervious surface on the site in the end than there would be before. In this case, there's a very slight negligible increase of impervious, but staff kind of leaned that in agreement with the applicant that it would be able to be handled by the on-site drainage. So it just, for staff's benefit going forward, if we could just kind of get that discussion on record, just so we have it.
Thank you for the suggestion, Robert. For my part, I also agree that the very, very small amount of additional impervious surface here, which is 0.07 acres, is a small enough increase that I understand it to be managed within the current drainage system. Obviously, everyone
Yeah,
can
that
come to
was
their own
my
opinion on that.
interpretation as well, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it seems to be the applicant's representation as
Yeah.
their engineer that they've done
Mhm.
that homework as well. I don't doubt those calculations with such a small increase in impervious surface, and certainly wouldn't think to put an applicant through peer review for something as fun as that.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Robert, does that sufficiently address the topic for you?
Our main point was usually anything that usually triggers full site plan and drainage calc. So as long as the board's agreeing that this can be handled under the waiver process, then as you've already granted the waiver, so it's kind of in reverse, but still the discussion at least has taken place now.
Got it?
Thanks
It's
for
important
bringing it
to
up.
call those
Yeah.
to our attention to make sure if there's a specific reason that something's brought before us as opposed to being administrative approval. But for that increase in impervious surface, this probably would have fit into an administrative approval. I think it's a fair call. Other comments or questions? It's
Who's the
appro-
new tenant?
They don't have one yet.
Not yet. The plan is to obviously get one by adding this.
Yes.
Gotcha.
At this point, if it's the will of the board, it's appropriate to consider final disposition of the application.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we grant final approval for this matter based on the memo from Kelly Chamel dated May 14th, 2019.
Subject to all those
That would be
conditions.
conditional final approval?
With,
Yeah.
yes, conditional final
Okay.
approval.
You said final
Nelson?
approval, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to-
Nelson has a second for that motion to grant conditional final approval, subject to the conditions in the memo. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 5-0-0 for that. Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
the presentation. Okay. Item 6 on our agenda is Petroleum Marketing Group, Inc. as the applicant and Blue Hills Fuels LLC as the owner. And it is on our agenda for a conceptual discussion of a potential site plan to raise and rebuild an existing gas station convenience store. The parcel is located at 1 Continental Boulevard in the C2 General Commercial and Aquifer Conservation Districts, Tax Map 4D, Lot 54-1. It is case PB 2019-16. Robert, is there anything that we need to know before we hear from the applicant?
The
We're not going to
applicant-
hear from the applicant.
In your packet, you should have a letter that they had requested a continuance to June 18th. However, this is not a public hearing, it's just a conceptual discussion. So we're notifying you that we're going to be moving this discussion to June 18th.
Thank you. So it requires no action by the board?
Correct.
I knew,
Okay.
let me just see.
Although it's conceptual, again, it simply appears on an agenda, and that's the public's notice to take a look for it.
This concept discussions don't require a public notice, but it has to
Yeah.
be noticed on the, listed on the agenda as an agenda item, so.
I assume a butters received notification?
Not for the
Not even of
concept discussion.
conceptual?
No.
Okay. All right, so no actions required by the board on that item. We are up to item number 7, which is discussion and possible action regarding other items of concern. One bulleted item on the printed agenda is Synergy Self-Storage LLC as the applicant and owner. They're looking for an extension of the approval that we granted last November so that they're able to continue working through the Department of Environmental Services alteration of terrain permit process. What's the will of the board with respect to a request for, what is it, another 6 months?
6 months, yeah.
Another 6-month extension.
I will piggyback on this, even after this email came in, we just received the letter from DES Alteration of Terrain requesting more information from the applicant, so.
It's not unlike DES to take a little while to get through these things. What's the will of the board with respect to that requested extension?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we grant them the 6 months extension that they are calling for.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to grant a 6-month extension of the conditions of approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? So that is 5-0-0 to grant that. An additional extension request, which is not on the printed agenda, but I believe is in the package, is on behalf of Vault Storage Site Plan. And they're requesting a 6-month extension of the conditional final approval. Robert, when did we initially grant them their approval?
They were granted about 1 year ago, and they were extended once, and they're now seeking their second extension. Understanding from them is that they're close to a submittal, but their time ran out. They would have to come back to the board for a minor amendment before everything gets done.
Okay. All right, so before we entertain the discussion of the 6-month extension, I just wanted to note that I had previously recused myself from consideration of the site plan for this because I had done some business with them. That's now been over 3 years since I've done that, which no longer requires or compels me to recuse myself. So I will certainly participate in the discussion and vote on the item. With that in mind, is there any other questions or discussion about the request for
Mr. Chairman,
continuance?
yes, as I understand it, the 6 months extension means that we're extending what we've already agreed, and they're given 6 months. But they're talking about a modified plan, so is that correct for an extension?
It is in this case because there's a process in state law that allows the planning board to declare a final plan as ready to be signed off and declare that it is final. So they're basically going to go under that statute when they're done. The modification is extremely small. It's to the building design.
Thank you for my education.
Yep, I agree with Robert's sense of things, and also if you don't grant them an extension, when they do decide to come back from a modification, it's not a modification, it's a whole
new site
new
plan.
game.
Well, in that case, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we grant them a 6 months extension.
Is there a second for Alistair's motion?
Second.
Second by Counselor Koenig. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 5-0-0 to grant that. I have no other discussion items or possible action items. Does anyone else have any discussion or action items?
Oh, other business, never mind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those were just minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Minutes,
next thing
yep.
on here. Okay, if there are no discussion items, the next thing, item 8 on, oh, I'm sorry, Nelson does have a discussion
I
item.
had one other discussion item, Mr. Chairman. It's been some months since we have received what we thought was the final configuration of the Route 3 sidewalk study that was being done by NRPC. And we had held up because we did not submit the final report because we had not closed with the state, and we have attempted to get the state's attention, District 5, to review this, to be sure that this study and so on was satisfactory to them insofar as providing a master plan for pedestrian travel on Route 3. The state of New Hampshire, District 5, is kind of ignoring us, to be polite. And we've been in this mode since January, and I think I'd like your suggestion or the board's suggestion on what we do. We could accept the thing and go forward as if it was final and let them react to it later, or, but I think we should close or make something happen with regard to completion of that study.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that back up. I'll sort of offer up my memory of the sense of things, and maybe so that kind of includes the discussion of where we have next. NRPC has helped us prepare a very nice inventory map of the corridor and identified some potential steps that might be taken in terms of the next sidewalks to be built. That is, to me, a foundational effort towards a townwide pedestrian plan. It isn't in itself the plan.
It's not town-wide, first thing.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
no,
It's
true.
a piece of the town-wide, yeah.
But even for the piece that it covers, it's a map with some information. It isn't a plan fulfilled. And so ultimately, there's potentially some more work for us to do to build that into a plan if we decide to do that. And the full board should participate in that and invite the public to comment on such things. With respect to working with the state, although it's been many years now, the correspondence from them was make a plan. Not that they cared what the plan said, but have one. Since this is only an interim step along that path, and they don't seem to have a lot riding on the content of the plan anyway, I wouldn't have any problem with saying the product from Nashua Regional Planning Commission is complete insofar as it goes, and now it's up to us to take our next steps towards making a plan. Robert, is that kind of consistent with what your thought was? Any other thoughts or comments on that? I don't know if necessarily we ought to decide that it's a final map here tonight without it sitting
No,
in front of us
no,
and
it
looking
wasn't-
at it, and
wasn't- no,
maybe
no.
having the other board
Yeah.
members get a chance to consider it and comment on it. I know that we have done an initial review of that with the board members, but let's,
been a while.
yeah. Why don't we, whichever of the June meetings has less going on, why don't we bring that map out, put it in the package, and have some discussion, general discussion by board members on that item.
I think we should ask NRPC to come and clarify for us or for the board as a whole, refresh the board as to what's in it.
I would
Yeah.
love to have them come. I feel like we've already quite imposed on them a lot for
Okay, whatever.
that. And, I mean, if they're willing to do it, let's invite them, but it seems like they've come at least twice to do this presentation with us already.
Yes.
And at some point, we're dawdling and they're being dragged along with us. But I had no problem reaching out and seeing if they'll come. Robert, can you make arrangements to reach out to them on that? And then we should also kind of take up from there where we go with making a
Where we
plan and
go.
have some discussion on
Yeah.
that. As soon as you mentioned NRPC and your one more thing, I remembered that I got an email today about them asking for and having a workshop on the Regional Transit System Service Expansion Study, which has a survey component. If you receive emails from NRPC on their updates, you probably got one as well. If not, it looks like you can identify or reach from their website this survey and public hearing, and if people are interested, perhaps they should go.
The website is?
NRPC.
Nashua?
NashuaRPC.org.
NRPC.
It is
.org.
NRPC, but their website is Nashua written out, rpc.org.
Okay. Is there a date that you've got there, Mr. Chairman?
On Tuesday, May 28th, NRPC will be hosting a workshop from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Merrimack Public Library in Merrimack. More details to be found on our Facebook event.
But they do have a link to, they do have a link to their survey, and they
Yes.
ask that anybody that can't make it, please fill out the survey. And
All right, well,
submit
that's jolly
information.
good. I certainly can.
No, and 3 to 4 won't work for me either. Okay, I don't have any other discussion and action items. Does anyone else have any? Seeing none, we're up to item 8 on our agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of May 7th, 2019. What say you?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the minutes as printed with no changes that I could find necessary.
Is there a second for Alistair's motion to accept the minutes as printed?
Oh, I'll second it.
Second by Nelson.
Yeah.
Discussion. If there's no discussion, all in favor of accepting the minutes as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I'll abstain.
2 abstaining, so 3-0-2 with Dan and Tom abstained. That suffices for that motion to
I
pass.
should have abstained. I wasn't even there.
No, you weren't actually there.
No.
Realize that
Can we
there's no
change
rule
that?
that says you have to abstain because you weren't there, right?
There is no rule. You're correct.
There's no requirement that you do that.
Accordingly, Mr. Chairman, may I have the honour of making a motion that we adjourn?
Is there a second? Second by Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 5-0-0. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. I don't think that we actually allowed Nelson.